Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Jared Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Warrant Officer Andrew Jochimson. We warmly welcome Mr. Boise Bollinger, former Chairman of the Board of the National World War II Museum, New Orleans, United States of America, and the accompanying delegation. We also welcome contingents from the Defence Reporting and Analysis Directorate and the Royal Brunei Armed Forces, who are both joining us here this evening. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. We also acknowledge representatives from the Dubbo RSL sub-branch who are in attendance this evening. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Narrabeen Lake Public School, and from Victoria, St Margaret's School, Maribyrnong. I invite you all now, if able, to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 Australian men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Jerome Devos. Jerome Devos was born on the 27th of October 1885 in Bruges, Belgium, the son of Oscar and Esther Devos. When the First World War began, he was living in Australia and working as a groom at the Hotel Stein on the Corso at Manly in Sydney. When he enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 3rd of September 1915, he could not provide the address of his family back in Belgium, as they had become displaced by the war. He instead asked for all correspondence to be directed to the Davis family, with whom he had been living in Manly, in the hope that they would be able to make contact with his friends in London and eventually with his family in Belgium. After enlisting, Devos began training with reinforcements of the 1st Infantry Brigade. Leaving Australia too late to take part in the Gallipoli campaign, Devos instead sailed for Egypt, where he continued to train with the 1st Battalion and later with the newly created 54th Battalion, to which he transferred in February. In March 1916, he was briefly hospitalised for heat stroke, likely brought about by the rigorous training of the hot desert conditions. In June, he sailed with the 54th Battalion to France, and soon after landing, travelled to northern France, near the border of his home country of Belgium. Devos had his first taste of trench warfare on the Western Front on the 14th of July, when the 54th Battalion moved into the trenches near Fabot. On the 19th of July, after a brief period of rest behind the lines, he participated in the Battle of Fromelles, Australia's first major engagement on the Western Front. Australian forces attacked the German frontline trenches in a series of waves in an attempt to capture the bulge in the German lines known as the Sugarloaf. The 54th Battalion commenced its attack at 5:50 p.m. and soon reached the German lines, but in the face of heavy German machine gun fire were forced to withdraw. Australian forces suffered terribly in this battle, losing over 5,500 men in a single day. Devos' 54th Battalion lost about 65% of its fighting strength. Devos was last seen advancing across no man's land with his mate, Private George Clapperton, before being shot down as he reached the thick German barbed wire defences. He was 30 years old. Originally reported as missing in action, it was not until August 1917, over a year after his death, that he was officially declared to have been killed in action at Fromelles. With no known grave today, he is commemorated at the VC Corner Australia Cemetery and Memorial at Fromelles. His name is listed on the honour roll on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Jerome Devos, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.